Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of a podcast about triathlon where these two guys talk about it. My name is Tim Ford, and I'm joined by the penultimate legend, James Bale. Jimbo, it's talking triathlon. It's that time. Guess what? We're going to be talking about triathlon this week. A lot, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the exciting world of triathlon where the news never ever ends, eh? So much to talk about this week.
There's a plethora. There's a plethora of there's a an Ironman of triathlon content to cover this week. We're gonna start with the swim. People aren't going to really like it. A lot of people are going to like wish they prepared better for it. But then we'll probably, help not make it easy. Might even shorten it, or I don't know, maybe we'll cancel the swim altogether.
Cancel it all together.
Yeah, yeah.
Cancel it all together.
Transition
And then
into
there'll be a
the
bike, a heavy drafting bike.
yeah. So it should be quick. It should be quicker than you expect because there's going to
Yeah.
be a bit of drafting
And
happening.
then it's a case of just getting yourself to the end.
And then we get to that run,
Stagger through that run.
grit the teeth. We'll get the listeners will be pushing us to the end. We'll probably have too many gels. Might get an upset stomach at some point.
Yeah.
Uh, get to the end. Tell
Don't wear
everyone
a
we're a
white throw
legend.
suit.
Tell everyone we're a legend.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've
There
never
you
done an Ironman, mate, so I wouldn't actually know what that experience is like. And
go.
unlikely. I still, it's like I've been doing triathlon now, what, 13, 14, 20, 14 years. And I still get, so when are you going to do an Ironman question? It's like at this
Do you
point,
think you ever will?
no, never.
No.
I have less than zero interest in doing an
Mm.
Ironman. Like if you were to lay out a list of things that I would like to spend my day doing, let alone the months training for an Ironman, I would rather do a hundred mile ultra run more than an Ironman, I think.
Come and
Like,
join me for one of those.
no, no, I don't want to do that. That's the margins between which one I want to do less is pretty thin. I just want to spend a whole day doing sport, mate. I love it, but that's why I like the Haas. It's like 4 hours done. Get to the pub. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Good way to do it.
Yeah.
What's been happening in your world, Jimbo? What's going on, mate?
Well, I've been fairly busy. I'm lifting a few weights here and there. I'm still rehabbing these hips I'm having trouble with. I feel like an old man worried complaining about my hips, but it's a tendon issue, so it's not like I'm gonna have to have a double hip replacement or anything. And I'm just bimbling my way into 2024, mate.
Are
What's
you
been
do?
happening with you?
Oh, no. Again, I think it's just lots. Actually, training a fair bit at the moment, which is nice. Started had a catch up with my coach Reese Barclay. Shout out to Reese about the plans for this year. We got 70.3 World Championships in December this year in Taupo, New Zealand, which is going to be a big focus for me. I qualified for that race in 2019, which is just madness to like think. So I think, yeah, just about getting ready for that race. I sort of said I want to just get back to being competitive and not like I don't want to just go around the course, like just rock. I've done 35 halves, so I don't. The thought of just like finishing doesn't really appeal to me that much. So yeah, just gonna put in a solid block of training. He's asked me to set a few. Wants me to set what my FT goal FTP should be and swim pace should be, and then we'll start. He wants to get also do some testing. I did some testing a couple of years ago. It was interesting but horrific. Have you ever done any of those lab tests for like
Yeah,
VO2
yeah,
max and stuff like that?
yeah. I've done the one with the mask on where you're wearing a harness because you pass out. Yeah, on the running machine, it was grim.
The,
That
I
was
did the,
years ago, though. I did that.
I did the VO2 max on the whatever it was on the same thing with the mask on the bike. And the thing that we see all this footage of like Christian and Gustav and fucking everyone doing these tests. What they don't tell you is how much you dribble. Like I
Yeah,
remember fucking doing this test with this goddamn mask on, and there's just fucking dribble running everywhere, and you can't help because your mouth's literally taped. You get this thing taped around your mouth. It was absolutely disgusting. I looked at that like
yeah. It's
normally,
grim, isn't it? Yeah,
oh man, normally you get off the bike and it's like covered in sweat. This one was just like dribble everywhere. Like it actually makes me feel a little bit sick, even talking about it. But yeah, that's probably going to happen for me at the end of February. And then again, just sort of looking at the plans for this year about, what
When's the
race.
race? When does the race season start for you?
Well, I guess traditionally, like, we're in Australia's season is sort of now, but Australia also kind of has a year-round season. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just want to focus on. I just want to put a good block of training, get back to being a decent level. Finally get this goddamn foot fixed and back to running decent as well. I want to do a few park runs this year. I miss doing park runs, like going out
I've
just doing.
never done a park run.
I've done a lot. I've done a lot of park
Hmm.
runs. Problem is, I run a half marathon every Friday night, so it's a bit difficult to, but do a decent half marathon on a Friday, then turn around on a Saturday morning, run a fast
Yeah, yeah.
5K.
I just want to be able to get running again
So
properly.
you're
It's
not
been a
running still.
while. I still can't run, no, at the moment. I got to the point where I recovered one hip and I did all the work and I was doing the weights work and all the mobility work and I did it on both sides. And then I started running again and the other hip went. And I was just like, what the fuck?
Oh.
So then, because I got running again, I got up to 17K and then just had to drop it right off. And now I reckon I'm going to start running this weekend and just go out and see how it feels.
It's fucked getting older. Even me,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
I've had this foot injury for actual years, and it was getting like better basically. Like I was doing speed work, everything was going well. And like I don't know, just before Christmas, I did my regular, as I said, Friday half marathon, and actually like there's a few intervals in it, nailed them all. I think it was like one of the fastest times I've ever done on a Friday night. Didn't feel any issue. Wake up the next day like fuck, my foot's sore. And like that was a month ago, and it's still an issue. And it's like I don't know, when you have an injury, you get the actual injury parts fixed, but then you start getting the nerve pain because
Yeah,
your body's so used to things hurting that even when it stops hurting, your body's like, no, no, this hurts. Like
yeah,
so, I've got to do all these fucking twisty stretch things, and it's like never ending. And you know, like you,
yeah.
I'm in the gym twice a week. I do all the strength
Mm.
work. I do the run walking. I do like you do
That's the
everything.
thing. I had a bit of a not a bit of a this is a strong word, but a bit of a breakdown about it before Christmas because I was like, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do. I'm doing all of the strength work, all the mobility work. I'm doing single leg strength work. I'm doing compound lifts. I'm doing all the stuff, and then this other hip just went, oh, I'm going to join that one in being fucked. But it wasn't as bad. When the other one went, it was more of a grumble than the actual full capitulation that the previous hip had done last May. But and I think I can get ahead of it. But I want to start racing in sort of April, May this year. I want to start doing some runs.
I reckon a good sort of way to ease back in it's probably to pick up a bit of swimming and biking as well, and then before
Yeah,
you know,
I was actually thinking that it was almost like timed perfectly with when I sold my bikes. My hip just went,
it's a sign from the universe, James, is that
yeah, man,
mate,
I need a decent sort of, not a tri bike or anything, or even a road bike, maybe just a nice, comfortable hybrid or something to go out and do some longer rides on.
or a gravel bike. I think that seems to be
Yeah,
the
that's kind of what I meant. Yeah, by
yeah.
hybrid. Yeah,
Like I know a lot of people ride those gravel bikes now because you can still do your road rides and stuff. You can just change the wheels or whatever. But yeah,
yeah.
cool.
Problem with me is, mate, if I go bike shopping, I'll be like, there'll be a nice, sensible access bike that I could just use day to day. And then I'll be like, oh, but yeah, for a little bit more, I could get that one. And then for a little bit more, I could probably get that one. And then, I could probably get like DI2 on it, couldn't I? And the next thing you
You
know,
must. You must.
I'm buying I'm buying a 10 grand gravel bike.
Have you? There's the. I love that meme, and it's like this. It's this picture of this person. It's like going for grocery shopping, only the minimum, only the necessities. Clothes shopping, just what I need. Like all the just enough to get by. Bike shopping, it's like in a pimp jacket with like making it rain. Like, it's fucking- yeah, it probably is. It is a little bit like that. This podcast is called Talking Triathlon. If you enjoy the show, you want to get more, including a bonus monthly episode, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. We will do a bonus episode probably next week, actually. We are due for our first one of this year. We did those bonus three. So there's probably about 7 or 8 bonus episodes now if you sign up. And you can do what a few people did over Christmas is just sign up for the month. You pay your $5, you get all the episodes, and then you can cancel if you like or hang around if you like as well. There's a WhatsApp group and there's a Facebook group as well.
I'd hang around if I was you. It's good.
It's great. Jimbo, what's been happening in the world of triathlon? What is this? Well, we're in the swim part of the race, mate. Where are we going to
Well,
start?
I think we should kick off with our old mate, Lionel Sanders, who has, re-emerged from the shadows a little bit and come out and proclaimed what he's going to do for the season. Now he's dedicated himself to the Ironman series, hasn't he?
Hmm. It's not.
And
Is
sorry,
it
go ahead.
is it the actual Ironman series though? Like, again, look, I guess reading be between the lines or sort of because he's talking a lot about how recovery is going to be super important and that he wants to sort of pace himself or not, not do too much. I kind of wonder if it's that he's doing the Ironman series or if he's just solely focusing on Kona.
Well, he said part of part of it was I actually messaged the goat right here behind me, referencing Jan Frodeno. I asked him his advice, and he said, do you have a picture that you wish you had, but you haven't yet achieved? And I'd be lying if I said that I wouldn't want to have a picture like that, or Crowe, the winner here in 2008, 2009, 2011, holding up that Kona banner. I'd be lying if I said that I wouldn't want that. And this journey starts with Ironman, it ends with Ironman, and it started with Kona, and it's going to end with Kona. So I'm all in on that. So yeah, maybe it is just Kona. Maybe he's not focusing fully on the Ironman series, but he's focusing fully on Ironman the distance, and his whole year is going to be focused around that Kona race.
Yeah, I mean, I believe he's going to probably be on the start list in Texas. So we'll probably, I mean, I don't even know where we're at. Lionel will have to qualify. He came, oh, or because he came second in 2021. No, that's only 1 year. Is it? I don't know
Yeah.
how he's going to, let's say he's going to have to qualify. So he's going to have to do an Ironman, which I assume is going to be Texas. And then we got Kona, and then he is sort of halfway there. So I'm interested to see. I mean, I'm always interested to see. But what do you when you hear this? Because Lionel is a guy that like is
Lionel, Lionel, he came second in 2017, but he hasn't graced the top 20 since then, has he?
2021. He came second in St. George.
Oh yeah, but that's not Kona though, is it?
That's true. That's accurate. Sorry, you're correct. Yeah, you're right. 2021. I mean, 2017 was when we saw him. I think that's the first time I ever really sort of noticed him because
Yeah.
I remember watching him running down the Queen K back to town and messaging, I think it was probably the MX group or something back then, being like, is he injured? Like, is this guy hurt? And it's like, no, that's just how he runs. I'm like, oh fuck.
7 years ago. 7 years ago.
Wow. But we've seen, I think since then, we've seen a series of like like that 2017 race for me was like fuck Lionel Sanders. There was rumblings about this super powerful biker who could also run really well, had done all these sub 7 races. 2017 comes second, and then it all sort of started to fall apart. Not fall apart. He's had some fucking amazing results, but I think that's when we sort of started to see the origins of the Lionel in a lot of ways. We saw that 2018 Oceanside race where Jan did a number on him. That's when he went vegan. That's when everything started to shift. He got rid of his coach, made all these changes, had a terrible year. Then like it sort of started this roller coaster we've
Hmm.
seen of the up and down. And as like we've said a lot, and like I fucking would love to see Lionel win Kona. Like put him on the top.
Yeah, so
Would
would I. It'd be amazing. What an amazing full circle story that would be.
I don't see it happening though.
No.
Like, and I'm not I'm not trying to be disrespectful because again, like I said, I have so much fucking appreciation for what he's done for the sport and what he continues to do. But it's like that's this week. Like, okay, so now you're saying it, but in 3 months, because to me, the cycle of change that we see with Lionel seems to be getting shorter and shorter. And I wonder, like, are we going to get to like let's say that Texas race goes really badly, like a lot of his recent Ironmans have. I mean, when we haven't even seen him do an Ironman, I can't remember the last time. If that goes badly, are we going to see him then just go, I've changed my mind, or I've changed my mind? Like, I kind of feel a bit like the boy who cried wolf with Lionel, a bit where you it's so unpredictable about the actual follow through that you kind of like, and that, again, it's probably us being a bit skeptical with all the stuff that's happened in triathlon in the last few years where we get our hopes up and things sort of fail to eventuate or materialize. I wonder if, and maybe that's why I look at this and I'm like, I hope so, but I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, I hope he does. I just don't see him being a factor because I yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just don't see this going the way that we expect it to.
No, it's like you say, 2017, he blasted in. And then he's had some amazing results, but in my mind, he's always been better at that half distance, you know. He's always where he really found his stride. Now, he's done some cool stuff. He's just, like you say, the cycle of changeability, of trying to chase that dragon and find that perfect combination of whether it's training, diet, lifestyle, whatever he's trying to do. We've never seen him have that run where he's chosen his route and his way, his methodology, stuck with it long enough to really find out what's at the end of that rainbow. I always feel like he chooses his direction, starts on it. If he hits a road bump, that is another catalyst of change. as opposed to doubling down and sticking with something and finding out what he can do.
Mate, that's exactly how I see it. Like, and it's because every time we see one of these introductions, mate, like it's like, okay, this is good, this is it. Like, yes, this is finally the thing. You've got it. This is the thing you need to do to get, and then it sort of it doesn't eventuate. Like, I mean, the whole saga with uh I mean, we said it years ago. Like he was the first long distance athlete I think who was actually really paying attention to what the Norwegians were doing. I remember he was doing those 5K videos talking about what the short course guys were doing, how he needed to get his 5K run pace up. And then he kept talking a lot about the Norwegians. And then we saw him start to work with Mikel Eden. And I remember thinking, this could actually be it. Like this
Yeah, that
could
was
be
it. That was it where I started to really think as well.
but obviously it didn't work and we don't know about the details of what did and didn't happen. But like there's been several coaches now, or several times he has worked with a coach and it has never eventuated. And if you were to look at that and say, well, he's been worse every time he's had a coach, then that's clearly the problem. Doing this thing is right. However, his best result, I believe, was when he was with a coach. That 2017 Kona performance was when he was coached by Dave Tilbury Davis. And then I actually I believe 2021 or that St. George race in 2021, he was working with Mikel Eden, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So
I think
his
so.
his two best performances have actually not overall, but his two best world championship performances have been with a coach. So that's why I sort of go like, yeah, I mean, that's why I always joke that he's such a frustrating guy to be a fan of because it's like the number of like I guess you can see the doubt creep in and then the indecision that then goes, I'm doing this. And then like even this, like we said last year, he's like, I'm fucking done with Ironman because of and again, we made a mistake. He didn't cross the center line. There was an invisible like that again, but like he was done with Ironman. And now it's like, no, it's all about Ironman. And and I guess that's the appeal is he's such an emotional, vulnerable, real guy, which is why we love him. But I think we're at this point now where it's almost like I think because you see the comments, right? And we've been on this point of view a lot people thought it was hate. It's never been hate. It's just simply been about commenting about what we see. We're not in the minority anymore. Like you look at the comments on posts about him, on articles about him, and it's a lot more people being like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, here we go again,"
Yeah.
or
Heard it all
"This is
before, mate.
yeah, heard it all before." Like I think a lot more people are starting to see this way. You still get the people like Lionel's the best, what he does, which I don't disagree with. I think what he's done for the sport is exceptional. There are so many people who do and follow triathlon because of Lionel Sanders, and for that, I think he's a fucking legend. But I
I've got
also,
his I've got his PTO profile up here on my screen. I've got a big screen here with all my
yep,
information on it.
of course you do.
And
Though.
he's looking at me like he fucking hates me right now
Let me
from
see
his little
it's
profile
an
picture.
angry looking photo, isn't it?
It's an angry looking photo, yeah.
But let's
And now
yeah,
look, you're
you
right.
go
He
on
hasn't done an Ironman for ages. The last time he did an
Hawaii,
Ironman was Hawaii in 2022.
and that was the one where Joe said that like Joe expected Lionel to like I think they based and Joe was like fucking let's go on the bike and Lionel's like no I'm doing my own thing. And I remember, yeah, like he was just basically didn't feature, and that was
34th, came 34th.
yeah. And other than that, what do we got? Like, let's go through it. We've got St. George, where he came second. If again, same thing, where he's like, I'm just going to do my own race. Came second, and I think that's probably where he sort of got this like, I can just do this, and then it didn't work in Hawaii. Florida second. That was the race we saw him against Gustav Eden. Fantastic race. Again, another brilliant performance where Gustav just went halfway through. Right? Later, and off he went. Ironman Chattanooga, he came second. Ironman Copenhagen sec. That Copenhagen race. Remember, it was like the week after the tri battle or something. That was
Hmm.
pretty. I mean, even the tri battle. Fucking hell! I still think that was such a gutsy. So they're not bad performances. Like all of those things are good. And then you suddenly look and it's like, nope, I'm all about 70.3 all of a sudden. And then we have a whole year of some okay 70.3 races. And then it's like this year, no, back. And I think I saw one of the comments in that article that really, I was like, I've been doing triathlon for 10 years and I haven't built a base yet. And I saw that, I thought, what is that? What does that mean? Well, that is,
Yeah. 2017, he's got all these wins, 2018, 2019, and then just kind of goes off the boil. And what do you think? What do you think psychologically? I haven't built a base yet means.
I haven't
Is
spent
he?
a good chunk of time just getting the basics. It's the only thing I can think because, I mean,
I think that's a window into his mind.
okay,
I
tell
think
me.
that's a window into It's the closest you'll get him to getting to admitting he hasn't stuck with something long enough.
Yeah, I see what you mean by that. And
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
sort of I haven't built a base yet. It's kind of the closest you'll get him to say, yeah, I haven't committed to a methodology for long enough.
Yeah, that's it. There's an interesting point there because I would have thought, yeah, I mean, you obviously have a base. There's obviously a base of fitness there if you're able to do an Ironman.
Guy's made of base.
Yeah,
He's fucking base, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
yeah. So, like, I don't know. Again, I always just look at it and go, like, just, yeah. And I mean, you do see it, right? Like, and as athletes sort of get to the later part of their career, the risk reward thing about changing things becomes pretty significant because like, I mean, look, Joe Skipper, I've heard Joe say on his podcast, and I've spoken to Joe about this personally. Like everybody says Joe needs a coach. And the reason that says he doesn't want a coach is he's got a finite number of years left in the sport. And if he decides to go with a coach, things could go well or they could go really badly. And he's not
Mm.
willing to risk that. Like, yeah, and which is an interesting concept, right? Because again, like, and again, then look at another athlete, Tyler Mizlerchuk, went for the Olympic gold in 2021, tore his Achilles, said to me or said to us, sometimes in order to win it all, you've got to be willing to risk it all. So it's a very different, I guess, approach. And I've always thought of that as long as he is willing to risk it. Like he has taken these risks of changing things and trying different things and this, and it ultimately always comes back to the same place, which is this, I'm not really sure, or this is what I, it's this theme of uncertainty seems to be the through line of a lot of what we see him do. And yeah, I think what you say about this being like it is probably a pretty accurate statement that he hasn't stuck with the one thing for a long enough period of time. Because I wonder if he had have just kept doing what he was doing in 2017, where we'd be now. You know, I can't
Yeah.
help but wonder that. And hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I respect all the choices he's made, and I respect all the things he's done. But I wonder if we will ever truly see Lionel's final form. You know, that like Super
I
Saiyan
mean, the man
Lionel
is only
Sanders.
35. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not in a sport and the modern world we live in with sports science as it is, and an endurance sport like long distance triathlon. He is not aged out yet. You know, it's sometimes very tempting to about him as if he's in his very final years, but he could, if he gets it dialed in, have some very, very good years yet to come.
I think exactly. Well, you look at what Jan Frodeno's done. Definitely.
Mm.
I only question is the only counter I'll make it. And again, I don't know this, but we know that Lionel's background is, that he was a drug addict and these sort of things. Does that play a part on your biological or your athletic age? Because yes, that's how old he is. But I'd argue that, well, I don't argue. I would wonder if some of those other factors would play a part in that as well. Like, yes, he is that old, but what's his athletic age? I don't know. So
Yeah, maybe that is a good point. That's a good point. But you know, what's the implications of this going to be for him? Because he's going to focus on Ironman all year. Is that, I mean, we're going to have these two ranking systems, aren't we? We're going to have the PTO ranking system, the Ironman ranking system. He's going to drop down that PTO ranking system fairly meteorically, and he's just going to be if he's just going to be racing Ironman races.
I mean, this is what we were sort of touching on before here. Like one of the interesting factors, I suppose, around this year moving forward, one of the things I have enjoyed over the last few years is we have this ranking system, the PTO ranking system. Is it perfect? I'm not sure. It's it's good. It's good to have this very objective thing where you can pull a statistic, say this athlete is ranked X. This year, just because triathlon does what triathlon does, we're going to have two ranking systems. We're going to have the PTO ranking system, which is an all-encompassing system that takes into account all the races an athlete does and weights them based on prize money, strength of field, what they decide they want to give more points to. And then we're going to have the Ironman ranking system, which is going to be based on the Ironman Pro Series races. Do we need two ranking systems in the sport? I mean, theoretically, we have a third, don't we? Because we've also got the challenge bonus, which is based on points. So I guess in theory, we're probably going to have three ranking systems. But I mean, how do you see? We've said it on the podcast based on our personal experiences, and I do believe this that at least from a commercial aspect, a lot of the brands in the sport are more interested in the Ironman series than they are in the PTO series. Do you think that that means that the brands, at least, or the fans, are going to tend to focus more on that Ironman ranking system, or is the PTO ranking system still going to be the main one? Because the only caveat or concern I have is just because I feel like the PTO's got this close series. Apparently, we still haven't heard anything about it, or actually, in fact, I've heard so much about it from so many people now. I have no fucking idea what's true and what isn't anymore. But it's going to very heavily weight their races, which means unless you're in that field of racers who's doing the PTOs is probably going to struggle to get into that top 20. It's almost self-perpetuating. Which do you think? What do you think is going to become the main ranking system? Like you as a fan, which are you going to rely on the most?
I mean, for me, I think the PTO is going to be the definitive
Okay.
ranking system because it's all encompassing. I know they weight their own races, but I think that the Ironman ranking system is going to sit kind of within its own bubble. It's going to be very, very exclusive to their races and their series. Um, I'm always going to, I think, refer to the PTO ranking system for the time being, if things carry on as they are, to look at where athletes sit within the long course ecosystem and
Okay.
also to get all the information I want for various pieces of I'm doing on the podcast because their website is brilliant.
Yeah, the stats is
So
fantastic.
it really is. So yeah, I think for the moment, obviously depending on when they announce their season, what happens when they announce their season, where the races are going to be, how their organization performs, whether it carries on in the manner that it is at the moment, because those are all big outstanding questions. If they start to fade into the background, then obviously the Ironman ranking system will be what we're left with. I just hope that if that's the case, Ironman carry on in the direction they're going and don't fuck it off.
Do you? I just because, as I sort of said, the factors that make a race, what is it, platinum, gold, silver, bronze, is strength of field, prize money. There's another thing I can't remember. But let's say the pros embrace the Pro Series. Let's say this Ironman Pro Series suddenly, like, let's say Ironman Texas, first Ironman of the year for this series is stacked. So strength of fields, it's as good as a PTO event. It's as good as a world champs. Like let's say we've got 15 of the top 20 guys doing this race. So that race theoretically gets a very high ranking. So the winners get some really high PTO points as a result of that. Do you think, and let's say that trend continues during the year, do you think it would be possible, or do you think it would be allowed, or do you think there is a universe in which an athlete could top the PTO ranking without doing the PTO series? Do you think we could see like whoever wins the Ironman Pro Series and Kona win like top the rankings? Like, or
We'd
is
have to
it?
look at the maths behind it, wouldn't we? Because there will be a very clear-cut answer to that. Is that possible? Or are you asking if it's would it be mathematically possible, or you're asking whether we might actually see it?
A
Because
bit of
those two
both.
things are very different.
I guess, but
Because
I more
it's
wonder.
like it's like that point in the F1 season where they say it's still mathematically possible for someone to win the
Yeah.
championship, but they'd have to win every fucking
Mm.
race from there on, and the other person crash out of every race from then on.
I suppose it then becomes more of a question of, yeah, because you're right. Not is it possible? I'm sure it is possible. Or is the system kind of designed? And again, I don't know. I'm not trying to take the tinfoil hat off my head. Or is it sort of set up now that it's not possible? Or is the thought being we don't want that we want the people who do our series to be the top.
Yeah, I think that's the more likely the outcome.
So does it make
I
the
think
system irrelevant? Like, does it make it then? Is it not actually a true? Is it a similar version of the Ironman thing? It's just that they also factor in the other races. They give them something. But like, does it yet? Does that then mean that because I think the thing we've always liked about the pros the PTO is it is all encompassing and it's fair. It seems relative.
what
Well,
I'd
not
like to see, I know this might be complicating things a little bit,
love
and it
it.
might
Bring
be
it.
just adding another ranking system to it, but I'd like to see the PTO do an unweighted overall
Yeah.
ranking system, and then also have their series ranking system. Those that are racing in the PTO series has its own little individual PTO series ranking system. And then there's just one big overall PTO ranking, which takes into account in an unweighted way, in a very unbiased fashion. Obviously, they could weight the races based on the strength of field, but not on whose race they are or whose series they are. And then just and have that as that's your unequivocal, definitive long course triathlon ranking system. And then you've got your Ironman series ranking system, your PTO series ranking system, and that would be a really, really interesting set of metrics to have.
We're gonna have we're adding more and more and more.
Yeah.
So,
And then we'll have your left-handed athletes ranking system.
yep.
Yeah. We'll have your follically challenged athletes ranking system.
Devon athletes. No, I mean,
Devon.
surely there's surely going to be a separate point system or whatever for the, that they can't just be using. I think that you'd sort of expect
No,
that, but no,
there'll be a
I know what
point
you mean.
system, yeah.
I yeah, like I do wonder if it does. I think what you said is how it should be, right? Like there needs to be some sort of more object. I just don't. Again, and it comes to that whole like, so what's the actual purpose of the PTO? Like, what is it actually meant to be this thing about? And because I don't think it is anymore. I think we've all sort of agreed that it's sort of changed into it's another events company, athlete owned organization rather than representative body. What I will say though is I feel like since they made the recent number of changes to the ranking system, I'm not hearing as many. I'm not sure if they are or not, but I'm not hearing as many pros complain. And I don't know whether
No.
that's because they're still happy with it or they're happy with it now, or if they've accepted it for what it is. Like, is it like, okay, we thought this was a truly objective ranking system that's meant to show where every athlete compares to every other one. And this isn't doing it because these races aren't getting the points and this isn't fair. And then they've come out and said, this is what we're doing. This is how it's doing it. And oh, if it's a PTO event, it's more, and I think a lot of people, do you think a lot of people have gone, oh no, I get it now. We actually understand that this isn't truly an objective ranking system. It's weighted. So, okay, I get it. But
Yeah, I'm seeing less complaints, but I think that's because people have got used to it. It's kind of it is what it is kind of atmosphere for the moment. And I think they've also taken on board that the PTO are making improvements and changes. I think the PTO are a lot less belligerent than Ironman as a company, though. They do tend to listen. They are making changes.
yeah,
They do
great.
tend to try and sort of move things forward and listen to what people are saying. And I think that makes a lot of difference in the world of who's going to complain about what. Iron Man, it's gone full circle. It's gone away from complaining to now just like full acceptance of, well, nothing ever changes. It is what it is. They do what they want type thing.
Which is why the Ironman Pro Series, I think, caught so many of us off guard because it was
Yeah,
that
it really did.
we were at that point
Yeah.
of being like, okay, we accept it. This just fucking sucks. So, oh, they've done something. Um, then do you think, much as you've just said that there should be the overall ranking system, the PTO series ranking system, should Ironman have an overall Ironman ranking system and the Ironman Pro Series ranking system?
No.
Why? What's the difference? Because it's still just an Ironman thing?
Yeah, I'm not that interested in the overall Ironman ranking system. I'm interested in their Pro Series, those that are racing that and where they sit within that.
Hmm.
But that ultimately, like you say, will be kind of almost just the point system, wasn't it, for whatever is governing who's winning that series and who isn't. Um, I'm not that fussed, but I think the Ironman race, the overall Ironman race, is too big
Yep.
and it's too spread out, and there's people racing in such small quantities in many races. It's kind of almost loses its relevance. You can win. You can have so many people winning on one weekend in different places that a win kind of loses its power.
I don't know
I'm
the
not
actual.
taking anything away from those that have won an Ironman. You're
Oh,
all very impressive. Well done.
I wonder, I would love to know a statistic. Maybe Thorsten Rad knows this, but if you look at the total number of races that contribute to the PTO ranking system, I'd love to know the percentage that are Ironman events versus challenge events
Yeah.
versus because I think that probably you're looking at least, and again, I'm guesstimating here, at least 60% would be Ironman events minimum.
Mm.
Sure, probably more to be honest.
Yeah,
So
it must be. It must be.
the thing that I was thinking then while we were talking, because again, people can tell there's not heaps to talk about this week is we said this before we hit record as well, but there is a third ranking system. There is this company that sits in the sport of triathlon that has been doing a lot of the things we have spoken about for quite a long time and just nobody ever really talks about. And that is, of course, Challenge Family. Challenge Family pay appearance fees. Challenge Family organize travel and accommodation stuff with the pro. Like Challenge Family support the pro athletes. They don't charge a pro license. The Challenge Family have a bonus system based on points, very similar to what Ironman is. And obviously, it's a lower prize thing. Like Challenge Family has the second biggest triathlon in the world, arguably the biggest triathlon in the world, Challenge Roth. Yet nobody ever including, I mean, here we are talking, but nobody ever seems to factor challenge family much into things. And again, I'm sort of just segueing to another point, but what do you think then this year or moving forward, if challenge family truly wants to play in this ecosystem, what does challenge family need to start doing in order to be taken more seriously or included in these conversations more? Because it's been I'm MVPTO for the last 2 years. No one's talking about challenge. What do you think challenge family needs to do to start to be considered part of that? So it's something PTO versus challenge versus Ironman.
It's very difficult, isn't it? It's very difficult, I think, for them to really be part of this conversation because Iron Man is an entity in itself. It's the word
The brand.
just triggers a meaning. Yeah, the brand, the word triggers a meaning in people's minds.
Hmm.
Even if you're not quite sure what it is, you know that having done one is quite impressive. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. That's an
If
amateur
you
thing
say,
though, right? That's an
yeah,
amateur. Yeah.
I'm talking about try in the minds of people because
Yeah.
yes, we're talking about the pros, but the people that acknowledge this conversation or in this conversation, the audience, they're all amateurs. You know, you've got to be in the mind of the amateurs in order to be part of this conversation. So if you say I've done a challenge race, you don't have a fucking clue what that is if you
It
don't
was
know
a
what you're talking
it
about.
was a challenging race, mate. Like
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it's difficult for them if they want to be in the conversation when it comes to getting pros to do their race and to really be part of this sort of double team act that's going on at the moment. It's difficult. I mean, because they've tried it all before, haven't they? They've done the series thing. They've got their clash races. They've done like you say, played appearance fees. They've tried to raise the game and they haven't really ever reached the point where Ironman and the PTO are currently seeing.
I think that we saw hints of it when we saw that first Daytona race.
Yeah, that was the biggest opportunity I've seen.
Because I remember both of us coming away from that Daytona race, which was 2020, I believe. It was
Mm.
the end of 2020. We'd had that really shit year, and suddenly we had everyone racing this race, and it was fucking. And again, remember we were like excited because it was, there was all these things, and it obviously wasn't perfect, but it was like, fuck, this is the start of something really, really great. And then just, I don't even think those clash races happen anymore.
Just fizzled out, didn't it?
I think that from what you're saying is that I look at on paper, we for the two of us who do this podcast and every week we're trying to find the things to discuss. I see challenge races announced more than any other event. I see so many different things about challenge results, challenge, like I see all this challenge stuff, and I honestly almost feel like my eyes just glaze over it. It's like, oh, it's just another challenge race. Oh, it's just a challenge race. Oh, it's just like, even I think the last episode of last year when we're like, we're going to talk about Taupo, we're going to talk about Bahrain. Oh, some challenge race happened as well. I don't really know.
Mm.
I, but then you look at Roth and the gravitas that Roth has, and that the races we've seen, Daniel Arif, Magnus Ditlev, Jan Frodeno, like the things we've seen happen, anyhow, the things we've seen happen at that Roth race course works. Like that really cuts through. It is the exception to the rule. And I again, I'm just hypothesizing here. I feel like maybe challenge do need to completely go in a different direction of going, oh, we're just going to keep putting on races here and here and here and here and here. They should almost pull right back and make their, at least maybe for the pros or I don't know what their business model is, but let's just try to recreate that Roth experience.
Yeah, or specialist races, like you say, recreate that Roth experience, go into a place where you've got the Roth race, which is the fastest race in the world. And then you've got an amazing mountain race somewhere that is also televised. Then you've got an amazing sort of super hot race somewhere. And then you've got a sort of winter snowy race somewhere, or something like that, where you create these unique environments where people can race in.
Well, the interesting thing with Challenge Roth, right, is it's because a lot of what we have said, especially with the PTO, is that they need to pick good locations, right? Where you look at it, it's a fucking city, it's not some bum middle of nowhere place. Yet Roth is in the middle of nowhere. Like legitimately, I was trying to get to Roth last year because Joe was racing, and it was impossible because there's just it's such a small town. There's no accommodation, right? It's like an actual. So I wonder if the challenge model is as you say, okay, Challenge Roth is the fast race. challenge. It's our the jewel in the crown. And then yeah, we need a really, really hot race. But instead of us needing to find a place that's going to like be a city or whatever, like be expensive, let's try to find communities around the world that are going to embrace the event.
And
Like
it's just a pro race.
there's a race happening in New Zealand this weekend that we should talk about a little bit, which is Tauranga Half. And the start list is actually fucking fire, mate. You've got Els Visser, Chelsea Sodaro in the women's race, and then the men's race, you've got Javier Gomez, Mike Phillips, I think Braden Curry, like Carl Smith's going to be there, like fire. And it's my favorite race on the planet. I'm very upset that I was meant to be racing. I'd entered. I was actually meant to be in Tauranga now. The foot flared up. I'm not. I couldn't do it. But the thing I love about that event, apart from being in this incredible location, is the whole town supports this race. Like you're out on the race course, there's people everywhere because all the locals come out to support the race. And I wonder if maybe what Challenge could do as a model, and it doesn't just have to be Ironman distance, it can be half distance too, is let's just focus on finding venues that want the race. Places that are gonna actually really create that similar, like go for the atmosphere of Roth, where
Creates
we
that environment, that atmosphere. Yeah.
and because I think that you watch that Roth thing on TV, right? And the broadcast, it's not like you watch it and it's just right into fields, but then you get to that Solerberg Hill and you're like, fucking hell. And then you watch the
Yeah.
run course and it's fucking hell. Like as a spectator, you can't help but go, Jesus, I mean, I think the stadium that they put up's a bit funny, to be honest. Like it looks a bit clunky, like you kind of run in this weird square thing. But I wonder if Challenge Family were to like literally go, okay, we need to if we're all in on this, that's what we need to go for now. We need to yes, we can keep putting in our age group races or whatever, but let's try to find 5 marquee events that are gonna have a similar. And again, I understand Roth has had years and years and years of history. I'm not expecting you just to go, I'm gonna do it in Tauranga and it's gonna be big. But start the process now of finding these locations so that we can create a similar sort of experience that maybe in 5, 10 years we will get something like that. Like have a bit of a festival, put on a
Yeah.
beer
Engage
festival.
that community, get that community engaged and motivated and fired up around that race.
Do you think that could be Challenger's play to suddenly make them? Because like PTO sort of like they got 6, 7. We don't. Who knows how many races they have, and they're going for the city locations. I've heard there's races in LA. There's races in. We've heard it all. But maybe, and then you've got Ironman, who've got fucking hundreds of races, and half of them are in nowhere, but they're not really covered, and it's not really a pro race, and it's not like they don't really care. They just come into the community and they leave. And I wonder if there is this place to like our idea is going to be we're gonna really curate a small number of really awesome race experiences. And yes, one of them is a mountain stage. Like maybe it's something like similar to the Outdoors Tribe, but maybe a different location, maybe somewhere else in the world. Like there's that Montenegro
God, I
triathlon
love
that I
that
want to do,
triathlon.
but maybe find those races and really start to build the thing around them, and then they can start to televise them, and then they can start to get the names there, and then I wonder if that's the way that you can see Challenge to start to like compete, I suppose, where they go, no, we're just going to have 5 of the biggest races in the world because people want to come and do that and have that experience. Like that could be their point of difference. Because the other thing, right, is the challenge experience is objectively not as good as the Ironman experience. As an amateur now, I'm talking. Like
Yeah,
I've done a
agreed.
lot of challenge races. I've done a lot of Ironman experiences. The Ironman experience is second to none. They're the best race organizers going around. It is so well organized. Challenge feels like it's stuck together with duct tape and super glue. Like it's like a ball of paddle pop sticks with tape wrapped around it sometimes. But I don't know. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I agree with you entirely. I think that they need to try and think outside the box. Otherwise, they are doomed to forever just be the sort of little brother underdog
Do you
of
think
Iron Man.
do we have a responsibility to promote them more? Because like I said, they are doing this stuff. Like they do seem to be taking step. Like
Yeah, I think maybe we do. Maybe we do. But I mean, from our perspective, we're here to report what happens in the pro world. And the biggest pro races are at the PTO and the Ironman events at the moment.
mm,
Yes, we don't do Roth a disservice when it rolls around, do we? We give it all the coverage it deserves. We do previews, post views, reviews, whatever. It gets the full treatment. But the rest of their races, they are lacking a little bit of the gravitas that is required to really sort of pierce that bubble.
yeah, I just find it fascinating because yeah, like Roth is good, but it's not like the fields are the best fields in the world either. Like I think if you looked at the fields from last year that had the races that had the strongest fields, I'd argue that there are some local 70 point or non-championship events that had stronger fields than Roth. Like I think that it's not like that's why I'm like, is it just like is it the fact that Daniela and Magnus did what they did on the course that makes us go, shit, we need to talk about Roth? Is it is it that it's Roth? Is it like what is it about Roth that gets the cover or
I
makes
think it's
us?
the I think Roth is the art of possibility, because we know how fast people can go there. You're never sure what's going to happen and who's going to do well at that race. And also it's the atmosphere, the amount of history and people and ambience with that race. It's I think it kind of forces its way into the conversation just through those two things. It normally holds the fastest record and it's got a huge amount of support on course.
Mm, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know how we ended up here. We've just been talking about this thing for like 40 odd minutes, but um, there's more to talk about. That, like I sort of said, we have this towering race happening this weekend. I don't have a lot to preview about it. I just wanted to say the fact that we have this race coming up. Interesting to see Chelsea Sodaro on the start list in a race in New Zealand. Now, I'm assuming that Chelsea is in New Zealand spending time with her coach, Dan Plews. It would be, I think, sort of a foregone conclusion that we're going to see Chelsea win this race. The men's race, the interesting one is that Javier Gomez has been announced on the start list, and
The
see
old
what he does.
campaigner, love it.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, again, where do you see Javier Gomez going this year? Do you think he could get a wild card? Or are we just going to see him chip away at the like? What do you see for his year this year? Because he's been sort of missing for a while.
Yeah, he has been. I mean, I'd love to see him have a good year. And I don't know what a good year really is in his world right now. But, he's such a naturally talented athlete. And he's got this sort of he's one of the he's just got a big name, isn't he? Javier Gomez. No matter what happens, if you see him on start list, you wonder what is going to happen and how he's going to perform because he's badass. So yeah, I think we might see him get some wild cards to some races this year. Um, and I'd like to see him do well. I just don't know. Like I said, I don't know where well fits into that man's lexicon anymore.
I've been very interested to see what happens because he changed to Dan Plews last year, 2 years ago, something like that. And then we've sort of not seen him really, he did a few races last year, but I'm really keen to see the new Javier Gomez. So yeah, I'm going to be watching this weekend's race with a lot of interest. So yeah, just some obviously my boy Mike Phillips is out there.
Javier Gomez,
Come on,
number
Mike.
267 ranked on the PTO rankings.
Yeah, geez. Um,
Yeah.
what else we got to talk about this week, mate? We've got about 10 minutes left. What else we got to talk about?
Oh, Ruth Astor's got a new coach. So she's changed coach, which is interesting because she was with her previous coach for 10 years. So, we were talking earlier about people making decisions and taking risks. And obviously, she's decided that it's time for a change because she wants to see a change in her performance. And she's had a few injury niggles over the last few years, hasn't she? So it'd be good to see her racing at the top again.
I think this comes back to what we were talking about earlier when we were saying about the cost, the cost benefit analysis, whatever you want to call it, where certain athletes get to a point in their career and it's like, do we go all in, take a change, risk it, or do we keep doing what we've been doing and hopefully it pays off? And I think it's like Ruth is, I guess, kind of doing that. Like again, Ruth's not the youngest athlete, she's not the oldest athlete either. She's still got many years ahead of her. But to see again that sort of choice to okay, I need to try something different, but if I want to get to that next level, is fascinating because I do feel like we sort of seen that she won that race in Israel one like last year, the year before, and she did off the back of an incredible run. And then she was good in Kona. Uh, yeah, what do you think?
It's interesting that she said the reason behind it was because she developed too much of a friendship with him and she felt she could get away with missing sessions too easily. She could just sort of say she didn't fancy it and it would be all right. And that, I suppose, is the result of a very, very long six sort of coaching relationship where the relationship side of it works really well. The coaching side of it has worked really well. She said she still feels like she's getting better under him, but she was feeling like she was abusing that relationship a bit and getting away with missing sessions. She feels like she needs a bit more, that kind of that feeling you get where you don't want to let the person on the other end of the screen down.
Accountability. Sorry, can you
Yeah,
hear
Canopy.
that?
That's the word I
Can you
was
hear
looking
that
for.
in the background?
What is happening?
There's construction. Can you hear it?
No.
Oh, cool, perfect. All right, then we can keep going. I'm just worried that everyone's going to be hearing this drilling that seems to be happening in the wall.
No,
Um,
no, no, no. Can't hear anything, mate.
Perfect. No, yeah, I think that's we like I said we've seen a lot of athletes do make a change, and we see like we always say that when an athlete changes, you see this change of stimulus and suddenly we see like a boost in performance. I believe the new coach is Danish or another Scandinavian coach, and the only thing I wonder is, are we seeing this sort of period where like we sort of saw a few years ago where everyone went to Mikel, and now like, do you think it's that, or is it just again? I mean, I'm sure they're an excellent coach, and I know that Ruth's not an idiot. Like she's going to obviously make very very smart
No,
choices.
yeah, she'd have made a conscientious, informed, educated decision. I'm quite sure on where she's going because she's a hell of an athlete and someone I'd really love to see succeed. And I think she'd have done her due diligence on that one.
Yeah, and again, I hope we see Ruth back to her best because I love seeing Ruth Astle race. The other thing I know you mentioned to me that I've seen come up, I've seen a few little stories up about it, and as I sort of saw, I was like, I don't particularly care about this, uh, or what even is it? Was the fact that the Brownlees have apparently launched an AI coach or something on their like what do
Something like that. It's called Ask Al. It probably just gives you a bollocking, doesn't it? When you ask it whether you should do a session or not, just completely bollocks you and tells
dear
you, yes, get the fuck out the
Yeah,
door.
dear AI Brownlee, how do I get better? Just fucking train harder.
Yeah.
Just fucking get out there. Do you think this is I mean, you work in AI. Do you think this is something we've seen coaching platforms talking a lot about AI for fucking years now? It feels like there's been, AI platforms and this and that. Like, is this just the same thing with a Chat GPT plugin built, or what
Yeah,
do you
presumably it won't be anything. It won't be anything over and above that. In fact, we'll see. I'm sure it's just something with a chat GPT background in it. And all that does, I mean, the thing with AI is it's not some conscious thing that often people think it is. It is simply something that is using existing information to make very, very quick decisions. So yes, you could design something that is a coach, but you're not going to get, in my opinion, any better coaching from an AI system than you are from an actual coach. Just because it can source loads of information and make decisions really quickly. Yeah, you'll get a coaching plan, and it may be something that suits you. But are you going to get a sort of really personal approach? I don't know. But this seems to be more of a question and answer type tool, and that's quite good fun, I suppose.
I wonder what questions you could ask it. I wonder, I like to. I wonder if it is set up to actually be as if Alistair Brownlee's answering you. I'd love to get some insight into the like really philosophical question because Alistair Brownlee's a very very smart guy. Like he was studying medicine. Like I think he's going to probably end up as the head of the World Triathlon Committee. Like he's a clever guy. I'd love to like really start to make it ponder some really philosophical questions about life, the universe, and everything. And I wonder what you'd get back.
Ask Al has been built as it has been is a cutting-edge AI powered by Alistair and Johnny's 4 decades of combined training wisdom. It provides tailored answers to multi-sport questions, directly drawing from the extensive experience of the Brownlee brothers. Developed at Brownlee Fitness, Ask Al is claimed to represent a significant step in technological innovation, offering unmatched intelligent solutions for triathlon and endurance sports questions. And I have a bridge to sell you.
Mate, I can't do this. This drilling is killing my life. I think we wrap it up here this week. If
All
people
right,
want to, if people, sorry, it's a bit
no
shorter,
worries.
guys, but there's literally like jackhammering happening. If people want to find out more, where do they need to go, Jimbo?
Yeah, thanks for listening to Talking Triathlon. If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at tford14 on Instagram. I am at bale.james85 on Instagram. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Insta and at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. If you join up to the Patreon group, you'll get access to the monthly bonus episode and the social group and the WhatsApp group and all the other bits and pieces. And we're a very accessible duo, aren't we, Mr. Ford?
We certainly are. And again, I think some of the things we've literally been hearing about happening in this episode might make the cut on our bonus show,
to the
the rumor
bonus. Yeah,
mill.
it's gonna be a
Uh,
fruity bonus this week
but if
month.
this stuff I've been hearing is true, there's a lot to talk about off the record this month.
Shit's kicking off.
Certainly
Well
sounds
then,
like it. Yeah, mate. Well,
yeah.
look, thank you very much. Again, sorry it's a couple of minutes shorter, guys, but like I literally feel like I'm in a fucking, I don't know. Let's just stop now.
Cheerio.
Talk to you later.